The government of a country in which we do business is also a stakeholder of our business. Okay, it's just like all the others. And what we say, it's in the macro environment because it's usually something a business can't control. What a government does and doesn't do. Okay, as opposed to some of these other groups which are a little bit closer to the business where we do have some control. What are we talking about here? We're saying, look, governments interact with businesses in many ways. So here's our business. Here's the government. Well, what are some ways? Well, first of all, what is government in Australia at least? There's three levels. There's the federal government. Okay, there's the state government. So this would be the Australian government. This would be the Victorian government. And there's also the local government. So depending on where you live, that could be the city of Boroondara, city of Whitehorse, city of Baw Baw, whatever. Three levels. And these governments do things. What do? Well, they want businesses to pay taxes. Why? So they can spend it on schools, hospitals, police, roads, defence, etc. So how do they do that? Well, one way is GST. So when you buy something in Australia, you'll set the 10% GST. Well, they want businesses to pay that so they can do that. But they also want to charge you on your profits. When a business makes a profit, it actually has to pay a tax of 30% on that. Sometimes less, depending on your business and how big you are. And the government's actually lowering this. But the point is not what the number is. It's just that businesses have to pay it. And also, what's called payroll tax on employee wages. Believe it or not, when you employ someone as a business, you've got to pay the government a tax for doing that. But all up, all these taxes come together so the government can do this. Pay taxes for all the things in society that we sort of use. What else does the government want? It wants the business to provide jobs and spend money to grow the economy. The biggest driver of the economy is business. So, for example, the private sector, so we looked at public and private, businesses owned by, private individuals like you and me. There's 11.5 million jobs in there and only 2 million in the public sector. That is businesses owned by the government, not just the businesses like Australia Post, but also say Centrelink or the actual government, for example. So businesses are really important. So that's why the government wants them to do well, because they want jobs and money being spent in the economy. What else? The government sets the laws, though. It's sort of a mutual obligation here. The business says, the government says, here's the laws that the business must follow. So, and there's many. So if you did year 11, BizMan, you might have done the Competition and Consumer Act. About saying something, a product does actually what you say it does. You can't lie about a product. You can't sell an unsafe product, that sort of thing. So there's many, many laws. But we'll deal with this one here, this Fair Work legislation. That's going to be a real important one and one of our latest acts. But don't worry about it for now. Just know that government set the laws that businesses must follow. They also do a couple of other things. They provide incentives and subsidies for businesses to help them grow and expand. So if you've got a little business in Australia, you can often go to the government to say, we want to help export to China, for example. Can you help us do that? Governments do that all the time. They might give you some money. That's called a subsidy. Or they might just provide you with assistance and support. So the Australian government's been in China for years. They've got expertise. So you go to the government and say, I'd like some help. Can you help me know more about the Chinese market, for example? So there's a lot of grants and so on. Why don't we just summarize this though and say, well, what is the direct or vested interest of the government in a business? It's this: to receive taxes from the business, to provide incentives for the business to operate within Australia and not overseas. You see a lot of there's no cars are made in Australia anymore. Those businesses have gone overseas. And the government did try to keep them here by offering incentives. So the government really wants businesses to stay here, and they might give you money to do that. But also the other way, it goes the other way too. And the government makes the laws that the business must abide by, but it also provides assistance and support to the business too. What are some corporate social responsibility considerations for the government? Well, they want the business to pay the correct or fair amount of taxes. Businesses they just want to pay the minimum tax, which is not illegal. But is it socially responsible? Governments want businesses to pay the correct amount. They also want to work with the local government to provide jobs and support for local citizens. They want businesses to employ people in local areas. And lastly, and probably most importantly, they want the business to obey the laws of the country that they're in. So whatever government is anywhere around the world, the bare minimum from a CSR perspective is that the business obeys the laws that we've set.